the hilarious #1 bestseller by David Williams, illustrated by Tony Ross. Gangster Granny. 1. Cabbagey water. But Granny is so boring, said Ben. It was a cold Friday evening in November, and as usual he was slumped in the back of his mom and dad's car. Once again he was on his way to stay the night at his dreaded Granny's house. All old people are. Don't talk about your Granny like that, said Dad quickly, his fat stomach pushed against the steering wheel from the family's little brown car. I hate spending time with her, protested Ben. Her TV doesn't work. All she wants to do is play scramble, and she stinks of cabbage. In fairness to the boy, she does stink of cabbage, agreed Mom, as she applied some last-minute lip liner. You're not helping, wife, muttered Dad. At worst, my mother has a very slight odor of boiled vegetable. Can I come with you? Pleaded Ben. I love what's-it dancing, he lied. It's called ballroom dancing, corrected Dad. And you don't love it. You said that I quote, I would rather eat my own bungees than watch that rubbish. Now, Ben's mom and Dad loved ballroom dancing. Sometimes Ben thought they loved it more than they loved him. There was a TV show on Saturday evening that Mom and Dad never missed called Strictly Stars Dancing, where celebrities would be paired with professional ballroom dancers. In fact, if there was a fire in their house and Mom could only have either a sparkly gold tap shoe once worn by Flavio Flavioli, the shiny dance dancer and heartbreaker from Italy, who appeared on every series of the hit TV show, or her only child, Ben thought she would probably go for the shoes. Tonight, his mom and dad were going to an arena to see Strictly Stars dancing live on stage. I don't know why you don't give up on this pipe dream of becoming a plumber, Ben, and think about dancing professionally, said Mom, her lip liner scrawling across her cheek as the car bounced over a particularly bumpy speed in the car, which meant she often arrived somewhere like Mom has a habit of applying makeup in the car, which meant she often arrived somewhere looking like a clown. Maybe, just maybe, you could end up on Strictly, added Mom excitedly. Ben's dad, meanwhile, worked as a security guard at the local supermarket. The highlight of his 20-year career thus far was stopping an old man who concealed 2 tubs of margarine down his trousers. Although Dad was now too fat to run after any robbers, he could certainly block their escape. Dad met Mom when he wrongly accused her of shoplifting a bag of crisps, and within a year they were married. The car swung around the corner into Grey Close, where Granny's bungalow squatted. It was one of a whole row of sad little homes, mainly inhabited by old people. The cars came to a halt, and Ben slowly turned his head towards the bungalow. Looking expectantly out the living room window was Granny, waiting. She was always waiting by the window for him to arrive. How long has she been there? Thought Ben. This last week? Ben was her only grandchild, and as far as he knew, no one else ever came to visit. Granny waved and gave Ben a little smile, which his grumpy face just about permitted him to reluctantly return. Right. One of us will pick you up tomorrow morning at around 11, said Dad, keeping the engine running. Can you make it 10? Ben, growled Dad. He released the child lock and grudgingly pushed the door open and stepped out. Ben didn't need the child lock. Of course, he was 11 years old, and he hardly likely to open the door while the car was driving. He suspected his dad only used it to stop him from diving out of the car when they were on their way to Granny's house. Clunk went the door behind him, as the engine revved up again. Before he could ring the bell, Granny opened the door. A huge gust of cabbage blasted Ben's face. It was like a great big slap of smell. She was your very much textbook grandma. Thick glasses, white hair, false teeth, hearing aid, hairy chin. Mauve cardigan, used tissue tuck-up sleeve. Smell of cabbage. A packet of Morin mint close by. Floral printed print dress. Burgundy slippers. 10 tights. Are Mommy and Daddy not coming in? She asked, a little crestfallen. This was one of the things Ben couldn't stand about her. She was always talking to him like he was a baby. Broom, broom, broom. Together, Granny and Ben watched the little brown car race off, leaping over the speed bumps. Mom and Dad didn't like spending time with her any more than Ben did. It was just a convenient place to dump him on a Friday night. No, sorry, Grandma, sputtered Ben. Oh well, come in then, she muttered. Now I've set up the scramble board and for your tea, I got your favorite cabbage food. Ben's face dropped even further. No, he thought. 2. A duck quacking. Before long, Granny and grandson were sitting opposite each other in a deadly silence at the dining room table, just like every single Friday night. When his parents weren't watching Strictly on TV, they were eating curry or going to the movies. Friday night was their date night, and ever since Ben could remember, they had been dropping him off with his granny when they went out. If they weren't going to Strictly Stars Dancing Live on Stage Live, they would normally go to Taj Mahal, the curry house on the high street, not the ancient white marble monument in India, and eat their own body weight in poppadoms. All that could be heard in the bungalow was the ticking of the carriage clock on the mantelpiece, the clinking of the metal spoons against clay bowls, and an occasionally high-pitched whistle of Granny's faulty hearing aid. It was a device whose purpose seemed to be not so much to aid Grandma's deafness, but to cause deafness in others. It was one of the main things that Ben hated about his granny. The other were: 1. Granny would always spit in the used tissue she kept up the sleeve of her cardigan and wiped her grandson's face with it. 2. Her TV has been broken since 1992, and now it was covered in dust, so thick that it was like a TV with fur. Her house was stuffed full of books, and she always trying to get Ben to read them, even though he hated reading. Granny insists you wear a heavy winter coat all year round, even on boiling hot days. Otherwise you wouldn't feel the benefit. She reeked of cabbage. Anyone who cabbage allergy would not be able to come within 10 miles of her. Granny's idea of an exciting day out was feeding moldy crust of bread to some ducks in the pond. She constantly blew off without even acknowledging it. These blew-off farts didn't just smell of cabbage, they smelled of rotten cabbage. 9. Granny made you go to bed so early it seemed hardly worthwhile getting up in the first place. 10. She knitted her only grandson jumpers for Christmas with puppies or kittens on them, which he was forced to wear during the whole festal period by his parents. "How's your soup?" inquired the old lady. Ben had been stirring the pale green liquid around the chip bowl for the last 10 minutes, hoping it would somehow disappear. It would. And now it was getting cold. Cold bits of cabbage floating around in some cold cabbagey water. It was delicious, thank you, replied Ben. Good. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Good, said the old lady again. Clink, clink. Good. Granny seemed to find it as hard to speak to Ben as he did to her. Clink, clank, whistle. How's school? She asked. Boring, muttered Ben. Adults always ask kids how they are doing at school. The one subject that kids absolutely hated talking about. You don't even want to talk about school when you're at school. Oh, said Granny. Tick-tock, clink, clank, whistle, tick-tock. Why must check on the oven, said Granny, after a long pause, stretched out into an even longer pause. I got your favorite cabbage pie on the go. She rose slowly from her seat and made her way to the kitchen. As she took each step, a little bubble of wind puffed out her saggy bottom. It sounded like a duck quacking. Either she didn't realize or was extremely good at pretending she didn't realize. Ben watched her go, and then crept silently across the room. She was difficult because of the piles of books everywhere. Ben's grandma loved books, and she always seemed to have her nose in one. They were stacked on shelves, lined down windowsills, piled in corners. Crime novels were her favorite. Books about gangsters, bank robbers, and mafia and the like. Ben wasn't sure what the difference between gangster and gangster was, but gangster seemed much worse. Although Ben hated reading, he loved looking at all the covers of Granny's book. They had fast cars and guns and glorious ladies literally painted on them. And Ben found it hard to believe this boring old granny of his liked reading stories that looked so thrilling. Why is she obsessed with gangsters? thought Ben. Gangsters don't live in bungalows. Gangsters don't play scramble. Gangsters probably don't smell of cabbage. Ben was a very slow reader, and the teachers at school made him feel stupid because he can't get up. The headmaster had even put him down a year in the hope that he would catch up on reading. As a result, all his friends were in a different class, and he felt nearly lonely at school as he did at home. With his parents who only cared about ballroom dancing, eventually, after a hairy moment where he nearly knocked over a stack of real-life crime books, Ben made it to the pot plant in the corner. He quickly tipped the remainder of his soup into it. The plant looked as if it was already dying, and if it wasn't dead yet, Granny's cold cabbage soup was sure to kill it off. Suddenly, Ben heard Granny's bum squeaking again as she made her way into the dining room. So he sped back to the table. He sat there trying to look as innocent as possible, with his empty bowl in front of him and his spoon in hand. I finished my soup, thank you, Granny. It was yummy. That's good, said the old lady as she trundled back to the table, carrying a saucepan on the tray. I got plenty more here for you, boy, smiling. She served him up another bowl. Ben gulped in terror. Plumbing weekly. I can't find plumbing weekly, right? Said Ben. It was the next Friday, and the boy had been scouring the magazine shelves of the local news ticket store. He couldn't find his favorite publication anywhere. The magazine was aimed at professional plumbers, and Ben was upset by the pages and pages of pipes, taps, cisterns, bulkheads, boilers, tanks, and drains. Plumbing Weekly was the only thing he enjoyed reading, mainly because it was crammed full of pictures and diagrams. Ever since he had been old enough to hold things, he had loved plumbing. When other children were playing with ducks in the bath, Ben had asked his parents for bits of pipe and made a complicated water channeling system. If a tap broke in his house, he fixed it. If the toilet would block, he wasn't disgusted. He was excited. Ben's parents didn't approve of his wanting to be a plumber, though. They wanted him to be rich and famous, and to their knowledge, there had never been a rich and famous plumber. Ben was as good with his head as he probably was rubbish at reading, and was absolutely fascinated when a plumber came around to fix a leak. He would watch in awe as the junior doctor might watch a great surgeon at work in an operation theater. But he always felt like a disappointment to his mom and dad. They desperately wanted him to fulfill the ambition they had never managed, to become a professional ballroom dancer. Ben's mom and dad had discovered their love of ballroom dancer too late to become champions themselves, and to be honest, they seemed to prefer sitting on their bums watching it on TV to actually taking part. As such, Ben tried to keep his passion private to avoid hurting his mom and dad's feelings. He stashed his copy of Plumbing Weekly under his bed, and he had an arrangement with Rai so that every week in the news segment would keep the plumbing magazine aside for him. Now though, he couldn't find it anywhere. Ben had searched for the magazine behind Karen and Heath and even looked under the lady. Not an actual lady. I mean the magazine called The Lady. Or to no avail. Ryan's store was moldy mess, but people came from miles away to shop there, as he always brought a smile to their faces. Ryan was halfway up the stepladder, putting up Christmas decorations. Well, I say Christmas decoration. He was actually putting up a banner that read "Happy Birthday," though he had typex the word "birthday" and replaced it with in scratchy burrow with Christmas. Rai carefully stepped down off the ladder to help Ben with his search. "Your plumbing wiki. Let me think. Have you looked beside the toffee bonbons?" said Rai. "Yes," replied Ben. "And it's not underneath the coloring books?" "No." And you have checked behind the penny shoes?" "Yes." "Well, is very mysterious. I know I ordered one in for you, young man." Very mysterious. Rai was speaking extremely slowly, in that way people do when they are thinking. "I am so sorry, Ben. I know you love it, but I don't have a clue where it is. I do have a special offer on correttos." "It's November, right? It's freezing outside," said Ben. "Who wants to eat a corretto now?" "Everyone when they hear my special offer. Wait until you hear this. Buy 20 free ice cream. Corretto's ice creams get one free." "Why on earth would I want 24 correttos?" said Ben with a laugh. Well, I don't know. You would maybe eat 12 and put the other 12 in your pocket to enjoy later. That's a lot of Corretto ice cream, right? Why are you so keen to get rid of these? They go out of date tomorrow, said Rai, as he lumbered over to the freezer cabinet. Sid opened the glass top and pulled out a cardboard box of Corretto. A freezing cold mist immediately struck the shop. Look, best before 15th of November. Ben studied the box. It says best before 15th of November 1996. Well, said Rai, even more reason to put them on special offer. Okay, Ben, this is my final offer. Buy one box of Corretto. I will give you 10 boxes absolutely free. Really, real right, no thanks, said Ben. He peered into the freezer cabinet to see what else might be lurking in there. It had never been defrosted, and Ben wouldn't have been surprised to find a perfectly preserved woolly mammoth from the Ice Age inside. Hang on, he said, as he moved a few frost-encrusted ice lollies out of the way. It's in here, Plumbing Weekly. Ah, yes, I remember now, said Rai. I put it in there to keep it fresh for you. Fresh? Said Ben. Well, young man, the magazine come out on Tuesday, but it's Friday today, so I put it in the freezer to keep it fresh for you. Ben wasn't sure how any magazine could ever go off, but he thanked the news segment anyway. That's very kind of you, Ray. And I'll have a packet of rollers, please. I can offer you 73 packets of rollers for the price of 72, exclaimed the news segment with a smile that meant to entice. No thanks, Ray. 1,000 packets of roll for a price of $998. No thanks, said Ben. Are you mad, Ben? That's a wonderful offer. All right. You drive a hard bargain, Ben. 1,000,007 packets of roll for the price of 1,000,004. That 3 packets of rolls absolutely free. I'll just take 1 packet in the magazine, thank you. Of course, young sir. I can't wait to get stuck into Plumbing Weekly later. I have to go and spend the whole night with my boring old granny again. It had been a week since Ben's last visit, and the dreaded Friday had rolled around once more. His parents were going to see a chick flick. According to his mom, romance and kissing and all that yuckity yuck. Tut, said Rai, shaking his head as he counted out Ben's change. Ben instantly felt ashamed. He had never seen the Newsigans do this before. Like all the other local kids, Ben regarded Rai as one of us, not one of them. He was full of life and laughed. Rai seemed a word away from parents and teachers and all the grown-ups who felt they could tell you off because they were bigger than you. Just because your granny is old, young Ben, said Rai, doesn't mean she is boring. I am getting on a bit myself, and whenever I have met your granny, I found her to be a very interesting lady. But don't be too hard on her, Ben, pleaded Rai. We will all be old one day, even you. And I'm sure your granny will have a secret or two. Old people always do.